Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. This one, as you can see, comes at a kind of an unusual time for me. Definitely had some thoughts about different topics going on in the sports world, and like I told you before, I try to do shows at just kind of different times to see what type of engagement I get and see who comes around to check it out and maybe expand the viewer and listener base. So definitely wanted to do that and give it a shot. But I'm going to wait a few minutes, see if we get anybody else in here. And yeah, I definitely have some topics that I think will be pretty interesting today. As you can see from the thumbnail, going to talk some Isaiah Thomas. Man, we'll get to it. Of course, going to talk some LeBron, right? He's always going to give us content. Going to talk some NFL, back to that. Dallas Cowboys and Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, definitely got some good stuff to talk about, and want to make sure I get into that. And again, wanted to just try a different time of day and see how that goes. But let's go ahead. Looks like there's some people trickling in, so let's go ahead and man, let's do it. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. Yeah, man, definitely love it. Can't wait. Love to interact with all you guys, and love to get on the show and just kick the sports talk. So as I said, make sure that you're just helping me out here by making sure that you click on that like and subscribe, man. That's a bigger thing than a lot of people realize. So make sure you do that. Oh, and hit the share button too, man. If you know anybody that loves the sports talk and you think they might be interested in what I got to say, because obviously my perspective is different than a lot of what you hear in the mainstream sports media, man, hit that share button, man. Let's get some more people. Let's get some more people in the chat. And all right, cool. Let's get right to it, shall we? All right, cool. So Isaiah Thomas, right? Since the Last Dance happened, and I feel so bad for him, right? Because Isaiah Thomas, I think he's no question one of the greatest basketball players ever, right? He's probably top 20 in my book. He's not top 10, but he's definitely top 20. And I think he's truly the original great small guard in terms of being a leader and leading a team to a championship, right? We rarely see that from the small guys. It doesn't really happen. And so you're in a situation where you're Isaiah Thomas and you go to the finals 3 years in a row. And you go through your time, right? You go through the Sixers, you go through the Celtics, you fight your way there, then you go through the Lakers, and then you go back to back, right? You beat the Lakers, and then you beat the Portland Trail Blazers with Clyde Drexler. That was a really good team. A lot of people forget how really good and well constructed that team was. But so you're a back-to-back champion. You won on every level: state champion in high school, national champion in national champion in college at Indiana under the legendary Bobby Knight, right? And so you come to the league and you fight. You help to build the program up, and you have an opportunity where you finally end up getting over the mountain. And so Isaiah Thomas, since the Last Dance, clearly he didn't like the way he was being portrayed. Right now, obviously, you had to know kind of some of that was going to end up going that way because Michael Jordan had major, I guess, editorial control over that project. And realistically, that project was about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls and how they were able to rise, climb the mountain, and then stay on top of the mountain until their last dance, which is the 1998 season. But Isaiah Thomas, he was offended on the way that portrayed himself and his team, the Bad Boy Pistons. And he says, and I'm really, I don't want to call him a liar, but I'm really astounded by this. He says he had no idea that over all these years that there was problems between him and Michael Jordan. And I'm like, if you're Isaiah Thomas, how could you not know that? But it is what it is. That's his take on this whole thing. So anyway, we've seen him on tons of interviews since then in the in the years in the interim. When was the last dance? During the pandemic. So that was 2020. Now it's 2024. We've seen him on lots of interviews, and this stuff always comes up, and I think a lot of it is unfortunately trying to save what he believes is a damaged legacy, right? And I've done shows on Isaiah Thomas before in terms of just how incredible a player he was when he was in his prime. I mean, this dude was he 6'1", 6'2" at most, and he literally was dominant, right? He averages for his career about 19 and a half points and 9.3 assists per game. Now, some people are going to look and say, how was he dominant? He only averaged 19 and a half points. But no, it was a totally different game back then. The defense was real. Violations were called. It was a big man's game. And he was like the first small guard to be the number one player on a team and to win a championship. And what he kind of thinks is his claim to fame is he says he's the only guy that beat Magic, Bird, and Jordan all in their primes. And well, I'll definitely give that he beat Bird and Magic in their primes. He might have caught Michael Jordan right before his prime, but still that Michael Jordan that he caught that he was beating was like a Superman. But even still, Isaiah Thomas, he can rightfully say he's the only guy to do that. But I think what's even more so impressive to me is that not only did he do that, but in kind of doing some research for this show, I didn't realize he did that all in the same year, which to me is crazy, right? So when 88-89 season, he wins his first championship, and 88-89, he wins his first championship. And to do it, he has to go through Bird and the Celtics in the East. He has to go through Jordan and the Bulls in the East. And then he beats Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers coming out of the West. And so, to say that he was the guy who was able to do that all in one season, like, that's crazy. That's 3 of the all-time best ever. And in my estimation, that's 3 of the top 5 ever. And you beat them all in one playoff run. Like, that's absurd. Now, if we're being honest, right, we got to make sure we include all the facts. I think Magic played like 70 minutes in that final series. I think he pulled a hamstring really badly and he couldn't go anymore. So there's that. But I will definitely say, credit to Isaiah for what he did. And then not just that, right? Because remember, the year before, the Pistons had gone to the NBA Finals and they had lost to the Lakers. And that was the year of Isaiah Thomas's legendary Game 6 performance on that badly swollen ankle, where I think he had 25 points in that third period. And that's just the stuff of legend. If you go back and watch it, you'll be astounded. But even still, Isaiah Thomas, he did his thing there. The Pistons lose that series on a heartbreaker in Game 7. And then they say, okay, they come back even better than ever the following year. I think they swept the Lakers in the finals, so he wins his first championship. And now not only that, they come back a third year in a row, and then they beat the Portland Trail Blazers, who had knocked out the Lakers in the West. So 3 times in a row, he's in the finals, and they end up winning the championship. So Isaiah is all-time great. Let's see. What's up, Lou? Lou says, LeBron has discredited the entire sport of basketball. His legacy is WNBA being the NBA in ratings because the NBA is now WWE, where the standard has been obliterated for entitlement. Wow. That's serious. But yeah, there might be some legitimate truth to that, man. So yeah, so back to Isaiah, right? The thing is, back to Isaiah, the thing is, and what's my man? It's not that serious. Yes, sir. I'm live, bro. I'm live right now. Yeah, man. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, so back to Isaiah. So the thing is, Isaiah Thomas, all-time great, top 10 in assists all time. And remember, this is a guy who only played, I think, 12 or 13 years in the league, right? Careers were shorter back then, as we know, because the game was so much more physical. Now, yeah, Isaiah Thomas retires top 10. He's still top 10 all time in assists, and I'm sure somebody's going to pass him because these guys are just playing longer now, right? But he's top 10 in assists. He's, in my estimation, the second best point guard who ever played. Is Magic and then Isaiah. But anyway, again, all-time great. But the problem is, because of The Last Dance, because of Michael Jordan and everything else that's involved, and some, I guess, off-the-floor issues that he's had since he's retired, his legacy as an all-time great player, unfortunately, has been it's been tarnished, right? And so I actually did a show, and I think it's called if you go back and look on the channel, I think it shows Isaiah is a winner, but he can't win this. And by this, I say he can't win a battle of himself versus Michael Jordan in the court of public opinion. He just can't. And so, he's just got to leave that be. But all of that aside, Isaiah Thomas was recently interviewed, I think, and he was kind of asked, he was on, I think, Kevin Durant's podcast. And one of the things they were asking him was like, if he thinks that he could play today and win today. And I was like, before I even heard his comments, I thought that was a really silly question to ask. But I guess it's one of those questions you ask when you're hosting a podcast to kind of get your podcast guests to open up and say what they have to say, and really give you some talking points and some good dialogue. Because I'm like, if you know anything about basketball, that's an utterly ridiculous question to ask. Can Isaiah Thomas play today? And I'm sure there are some people, younger people, who disrespect the previous generations, as the NBA is wont to do, and as the NBA media, for whatever reason, seems to push that narrative. But they will say that Isaiah Thomas wasn't that good and he couldn't play today and blah, blah, blah. And we'll get a little bit into that. But first, let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say on that podcast with Kevin Durant. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about it, unpack it a little bit.
How do you feel you'd fit in this era? Because you're somebody I think would be dominant in today's basketball. Like, I know people will point and say, you made less than 400 threes in your career. But that doesn't mean you wouldn't be shooting them today. Like, how do you handle as great as yours, ability to get anything off the dribble, ability to get to the cup? I just feel like you're tailor-made for this era.
So this is where Kevin and I are very similar, because I'm gonna run down some numbers to you. So and so when you go back and you look at my 1990 NBA Finals, I still think I hold the record for the highest percentage in terms of 3-point shooting in the final series. And you can go back and look it up. Now, somebody would say, well, you only took, I think I was 16 for 20, right? And they say, well, you only took 23s. That's your short sample size. And I said, well, we only played 5 games.
You got their ass out of there. That's why.
That's 4 a game. But anyway, would I been able to make 3-point shots? Of course. In this era, would I have been able to get to the basket? Of course. What type of team would I be on? That would be different, So the way I won in the 80s, we would need a little bit more skill level from our power forward position, or from than what we had. But our guard, me, Vinny, and Joe, we would be okay in this era.
Do you think that was enough size though? Because y'all all under 6'3", 6'4", right? Especially today when wings, 6'7", long arms, you think that'd have been enough size?
If you standing out at the 3-point line, I think I'll be all right. you posted my little ass up, I got a problem. But if you out there at the 3-point line, and I can slide and move and everything. Now when you jump up, I'm like everybody else. I ain't got it. I can't mess. But Kevin, we're not talking about you.
I ain't trying. I'm just saying.
No, we talking about everybody else, right? I'm saying, as a defensive guard at the 3-point line, would I be able to guard and defend out on the perimeter? I made my living doing that. I'm saying if I can win in that era, I will win in this one.
Yeah.
So I love what Isaiah had to say there. So first, let me correct him real quick. He wasn't 16 of 20 in that finals run, in that final series. He was 11 of 16. So cool. So he definitely was hot. Now, if you look at it, I think Isaiah Thomas is like 30% or slightly under 30% from 3 from his career. But again, back then, the 3-point shot was not an integral part of basketball like it is today. Guys just didn't shoot him as much. So he's saying, yeah, of course, if I played today, I'd be able to make the 3. Of course, would I be able to get to the rim today? Now, you saw on the clips that I was showing earlier about Isaiah Thomas, how the defense was tougher on him, but he was able to get to the rim. He was able to get into the paint. He was better in the mid-range. Also, obviously, back then at the paint, there were more big men, whether it's power forwards or centers, shot blockers. Now we see, again, I talk about it all the time, with the way the floor is spread, guys, once they beat their first man, they generally have a free path to the basket. And that's why the pick and roll is such a major part of today's NBA game, right? Nino says Isaiah Thomas was one of the coldest and would be considered better today. I would hope so. But there's a lot of disrespectful people out there who might disagree. See, Sid Bubba says, my MJ respects Isaiah as a talent regardless of his personal feelings. And yeah, that's true. Because I believe he said he's the second best point guard of all time. And he always speaks well of Isaiah as a basketball player. But, personally, he doesn't like him. Transformer, what up, bro? Nobody should saying Isaiah couldn't play today. If they do, they need to be mentally evaluated. Now, you say that, but good and darn well, there's a whole bunch of people out there that believe that if you weren't playing before 2003, that you can't play, you have no athletic ability, you're a bum, plumber, fireman, electrician, all this other crap. You know that, and I know that. We hear it all the time. That's why shows like ours and many other shows out here, we got to go ahead and pay homage and also dispel the nonsense, right? That's what we're there for. Sid Bubba says Joe Dumars was great. Yes, he was. And for whatever reason, he's not a Hall of Famer, which I think is strange because darn near everybody gets in the Hall of Fame in basketball. So I don't know what the deal was with that. What do we got? Guys like Trey exist in the NBA. IT would have no problem fitting in. No, I agree. Again, they would probably encourage him to take more threes. But if you look at it, Rondo was a killer in this NBA, and he didn't take a lot of threes. But Isaiah being Isaiah, I'm sure he would learn that. It's insane to me that LeBron has succeeded to change the measure of greatness to just compiling regular season stats instead of winning. That is the power of LeBron and Clutch Sports and the mainstream sports media and Nike. They have all come together to push this. Why? Because they know that they needed this argument with LeBron and Jordan. It just works better for all the money that they have pumped into this guy from the beginning. It just works better to push that narrative. So yeah, absolutely. Because it's insane to me. I've never seen before how we can just gloss over so many finals losses, right? Because Jerry West, he didn't win 4 championships. He only won 1, but he lost 8 times in the finals, right? Most people don't even have Jerry West as a top 10 player all time. Why? Because of the losing. But somehow LeBron gets to bypass that. And anyway, this is not about LeBron. This is about Isaiah. But let's see. LeBron, second time. All right. So here's the thing. Andre, what's good, man? I haven't seen you before. If you're here, make sure you go ahead, click that like and subscribe for me, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for checking into the channel. Got a lot of content here, man. Check it out and see what else you like on the channel. And make sure to share. Share button's powerful. Anyway, Andre, Zeke was nice for first short guard. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I guess we could go back further and say maybe Bob Cousy was the first short guard, but he wasn't the leader of those Celtics teams. Bill Russell was, but totally get it. Totally get what you're saying. But yeah, Zeke was that guy, man. And again, the lack of respect that he's given in terms of his ability to play and to be, the guy, especially at that size, is very unusual, right? He was the first guy to truly get it done and to win championships, and now Steph, right? Obviously, Allen Iverson was the guy on his team, but he couldn't get over the top to win chips. Tiny Archibald. Yeah, that's a good one, Sid Bubba. I'm trying to think if he won anything. I don't think Tiny Archibald won. He did lead the league in scoring and assists in the same season, which is absolutely absurd on the NBA level. But I don't think he ever won a championship, but he was super nice. All right. So yeah, Isaiah, man, I love the fact that you're confident in your ability. And I also believe that if he played today, he'd be able to win today because he was just that good, man. Like, could you imagine? Yeah, he's not going to be a 3-point shooter, but I'm sure that he would work on that. But imagine if we had a time machine and we could transport prime Isaiah Thomas into the modern NBA, how he would be destroying these dudes. He'd be killing them on defense and they wouldn't be able to stop him on offense. They wouldn't know what to do with him. He would get a lot of layups. I'll tell you that. And, give him a year, and I bet you he'd be shooting the 3 at probably about 35%. Is he ever going to be Steph Curry or Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf? No. Is he ever going to be Mark Price? No, he's not that pure shooter. But he would get to a respectable level, and then it would really be over. And we got to remember, as a distributor, he's one of the best all time. I think his top season in terms of assists per game. Let me look at it right here. His where are we? His number one season in terms of assists per game, right? 13.9. So this guy averaged 14 assists per game 1 year. Like, that is crazy. And remember, these are not even those Pistons teams. No one thinks of those as great offensive teams, right? Up and down, but he had it going, man. He had it going. Okay, Sid Bubba, thank you. I didn't realize Tiny Archibald was on that championship team. Yep, 81. Okay, that was Bird's second year. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize he was on that team. There you go. Thank you for correcting me, man. I appreciate you. Yeah. Nino, you're right, man. They don't know Zeke had real playground handles. And it's crazy because what I love to point out, you go back and you watch Zeke's, handles when it comes to dribbling. First of all, this nonsense that guys back then didn't have great handles is totally ridiculous, right? Because one, and if you listen to Kenny Smith's interview on Come and Talk to Me podcast with Mark Jackson, really fantastic interview, he's going to tell you back then, guys weren't allowed to play with the ball that way. One, the defenders would take it from you because the defenders were really, really good. And two, coaches were like, yo, just get into your move, get where you need to be on the floor. You don't need to be playing around with it. This is not Harlem Globetrotters. Like, you doing that, you're not going to, it's just a waste of time and a waste of seconds on the clock that you could be actually running offense, right? Because offenses back then everything wasn't just pick and roll, and everything wasn't just, trying to get into one-on-one situations for ISO, right? Like it is today. And the floors weren't as spread. So they was like, yo, listen, stop playing with the ball. So Kenny Smith talks about how guys back then had the crazy handles, but what you would have to do is maybe go to one of those tournament games in the summer, or go out to the Rucker or wherever it is, and then you would see what guys could do, and you would be shocked by it, right? Kenny Anderson, one of the sickest ball handlers ever. People don't even realize that, right? Kenny Anderson and, the aforementioned Tiny Archibald, and, of course, Isaiah Thomas, so on and so forth, Tim Hardaway Sr., all that. A lot of great ball handlers back then. But guess what? They weren't playing with the ball. And guys back then weren't allowed to carry, and they weren't allowed to travel. So it looks a lot different, right? So we gotta keep that, in context and take it into account when we talk about this stuff. Let's see. Andre says, not literally the first, but he was the first with handle and a game offensively. His D was average. No, I think he was a very good defender. The problem is his defense is overshadowed by Joe Dumars, who's one of the better perimeter defenders of all time, and obviously Dennis Rodman, who's one of the better front court defenders of all time. But no, Isaiah Thomas was definitely a defender for a couple of reasons. One, he went to college at Indiana, and the general, Bobby Knight, you weren't getting on the floor if you didn't defend. And he was there, I want to say 2 or 3 seasons. So you're not gonna get on the floor if you don't play defense. So you had to play man defense. And then back then in the NBA, everybody was playing man defense as well. So it's hard to recollect an example of Isaiah Thomas getting cooked up. So he was doing this. Okay, so Isaiah Thomas, man, I definitely think he would win. I feel bad for the fact that he's consistently doing everything he can to try and save his legacy, but I think he needs to sit back, rest on the fact that he is, wherever you have him, he's clearly a top 5 point guard of all time. Again, I have him at number 2. He's clearly a top 20 player of all time, of the 5,000 players that have ever played in the NBA. He's clearly a winner, one of few guys to win back-to-back championships and make 3 straight NBA finals. He's one of those guys. Could have been a three-peat, who knows? If not for the phantom foul, Bill Laimbeer on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sinks the free throws at the end of Game 6. The Pistons could have won that, and who knows how history would have looked at him, because at that point, Magic then would have ended his career with 4 championships and not 5. Isaiah ends his career with 3 championships instead of 2. 3 and 2 doesn't seem like a huge gap, but when you look at it championship-wise, all of a sudden that does change a lot. It really is different because, again, not a lot of guys have back-to-back titles, but 3 championships, not a lot of great players have 3 championships. There's a lot of great players that only have 1. So it's just it's totally different thing. But yeah, I wish there was some way that Isaiah's legacy could be restored as a basketball player. I wish that there was some way people would appreciate his greatness more, man. But we got what we got, and Isaiah is just going to have to sit back and accept that. And again, to the point of this particular video, would he win today? Absolutely, he would win today. Would he dominate today? Absolutely, he would dominate today. I think he would kill most of these guards out here. They wouldn't know what to do with him. So, Nino, Bruce, he's still mad your boy left him off that dream team. Speak on it. Tell the truth. Yeah, so it's a fact, Nino. You're absolutely right, 100%. So Scottie Pippen talked about it. It's I think it's also in the book When the Game Was Ours by Jackie McMullen about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. And so what people don't realize, Michael Jordan, he gets all the, I'm not going to say the credit, but he gets scapegoated for the reason Isaiah didn't make that team. And he was a big part of it because it's out there basically that I think Mike said something along the lines of, loose quote here, if Isaiah's on the team, I'm not playing. I don't remember the exact quote, but and you can listen to the podcast. I think it's called the Dream Team Tapes, really good podcast series. And it actually talks about that at one point, but really good podcast series about the first Dream Team, who, by the way, is, yes, the greatest basketball team ever assembled. And I will brook no argument on that. But anyway, yeah, so Michael Jordan played a huge role in that. But what a lot of people don't know is that Magic Johnson also was in on keeping Isaiah off the Dream Team. And that's crazy, right? You think because Isaiah and Magic were really tight. But the reason that happened was when Magic made his announcement that he was HIV positive. This is what, after the 91 season? Yeah, after the 91 season. So when Magic made his announcement that he was HIV positive, remember at that time, there was a lot of ignorance when it came to HIV and AIDS. And a lot of people were under the impression that it was just a disease that was carried by gay men, which obviously is not true. And so when Magic made his announcement that he was HIV positive, Isaiah Thomas was reported to have, said something to the effect of, or possibly started a rumor that Magic Johnson was bisexual. And Magic took that, he didn't like that at all. And that's what kind of froze up Magic and Isaiah's friendship for probably the next 20, 25 years. And so Magic was involved in keeping Isaiah Thomas off of that Dream Team as well. So it's unfortunate. But it's so interesting, though, that even though Magic was involved in that, Michael Jordan is the guy who gets scapegoated for it. But it is what it is, right? Let's see. So, yeah, that's the whole story, Nino, of why he's still frustrated. But yeah, he's frustrated about that, Nino, but he's also frustrated again with the way he was portrayed and the way his bad boys were portrayed in The Last Dance. And also, I think he's frustrated with the fact that, much like his career, he doesn't feel his bad boys get their due respect as one of the greatest championship teams of all time. Because, again, that's one of the few teams that went to 3 straight NBA finals. They managed to win 2 of them. Could have been, a three-peat, but he feels like they don't get their respect because they weren't aesthetically pleasing enough for the NBA. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. So it's tough, man. Exactly, Lou. When Magic made his announcement, Isaiah publicly implied that he might be gay. I think it was bisexual, but, right. So anyway, let's see. Zeke 1-1 with Magic and Byron Scott hurt, so that's sweep. So that ring just like the LeBron James bubble ring. No, Magic played, I think, the first game and a half of that series. Byron Scott was hurt, but at the end of the day, man, I think healthy or not, because Kareem had just retired, I believe. Healthy or not, I think those Pistons, man, they were primed, they were ready, they win that series. I truly believe that. Isaiah also said that Bird was just, so that was an interesting comment. Bird was just good because he was white. If Larry Bird was black, people would not think he was good. No, they said that he said, because Dennis Rodman was the first guy who made that comment. And so Isaiah's been asked many times about this over the years. And he said he was just sticking up for his teammate when he said, I agree with Rodman. And also, man, you can't necessarily take what guys say fresh off a devastating loss, right? Because emotions are running high. You're not necessarily thinking, but regardless, there's going to be cameras in your face and all that. But yeah, he says, I agree with Rodman. I think he said something to the effect of Larry Bird's a really good player, but if he was black, they would think he's just another good guy. But he did give Larry Bird his props for being an all-time great. And to to say is a good thing for Bird. Bird also said, man, I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I'm sure he got that his whole life because Bird loved going against brothers, and he made it plain that he knew that black players were the best players. That's why he was always looking to play against them. I'm sure you all heard the stories, if you love basketball, about Larry Bird, yelling at opposing coaches like not to put this white guy on me because it disrespects my game. So crazy. Yeah, exactly, Sid Bubba. That was the Dennis Rodman quote. But Isaiah Thomas did back him up when they asked him about it. He said, I'd have to agree with Rodman. So, but again, that's him backing up his teammate. Now, in that exact moment, I don't know how he kind of gets around that, but, it probably should have just been, listen, Rodman's his own man. He has his own thoughts, and, I'm not going to comment on what one of my teammates thinks. That's it. But, yeah, so let's see. Because of the way guys played, they see the bad boys as having disgraced the game and almost cheated, and they've had to carry that all those. Yeah, I think so. But at the end of the day, that was still an outstanding team, just locked down defensively. They were physically, and really, did they almost cheat? They didn't do anything against the rules, right? At that time, what they were doing was not against the rules. They just took it right to the edge of super physicality. So that is what it is, man. And I don't think that we should. I don't believe that we should take anything away from the bad boys and their greatness during that stretch. I don't. All right. So what I want to do now, that's me talking about Isaiah and his comments on being able to win today in the modern NBA, which, again, I truly think that he would be able to. And I just wish that he could get his due for his level of greatness. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the phone lines because y'all know that I love to take comments from you guys. And let's see, I will put, oh man, I haven't had this on the whole time. Nobody told me. I'll put the number on the bottom, 904-219-8264. I'll also put it in the chat, and I would love for you guys to call in, give your thoughts on that. And yeah. Let's get it. 904-219-8264. Numbers in the chat, and it is also scrolling on the bottom of your screen. All right, what we got here? Anyone who tells the truth is called hate. He said the magic word, hater. Let's see those 90s Knicks if you want to see physical. Yeah. I think the 90s Knicks were the follow-up incarnation of the bad boys. They were super physical. Yeah. So no calls on this. Definitely wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on Isaiah and whether or not you believe that he would be able to be the type of player that he was back then if he played today. Definitely want to get you guys' thoughts on that. And also, before we move on to the next topic, what I would love to hear from you guys, and you could put it in the chat if you're not able to or don't feel like calling. Put in the chat who you think is the best point guard in the league today and how you think they would match up against Isaiah Thomas. Definitely would love to hear that. And I'm trying to think. I want to say, because I like traditional point guards, I want to say Chris Paul is probably still the best point guard in the league in terms of traditional point guards, but maybe Shai Gilgeous is probably the best point guard in the game today because he can score, he can defend, he can pass. Like, he doesn't have a whole lot of weakness. Who would you compare Zeke to in today's game? Oh, man. I don't think I would, but I think just because he's a traditional point guard, like I said, Chris Paul is probably the closest argument that you could make. Rondo's gone. Yeah, because today's point guards are they're so much score first. They're very, very score oriented. So I don't, and don't get me wrong, Zeke could score. We know that, but he wasn't a score first guard. He was a point guard in the mold of run the team and distribute the rock and do all those things. But that's a great question. I guess a guy still playing it would probably be Chris Paul, but yeah, I don't think there's really a comparison in today's game for Isaiah Thomas. Can't really see it, but that was a great question though. All right, let's go ahead and do this. And by the way, if you're here in the chat and you haven't already, please let's go ahead and make sure we hit that like and subscribe, and also hit that share button, man. Share the show out because I'm sure there are more people who would love to check it out and hear our viewpoints and get involved here in the discussion. So let's do that. Cool. Next up. All right. LeBron. You know we got to talk about LeBron because why? LeBron he keeps giving us stuff to talk about. We are going to do that. So give me 1 second here. And I'll put this on X. All right. Okay, so LeBron James, man, this might be a fun one. Let's see. Dame Dollar. Nah. Chris, what's good, man? Yes, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. And if you haven't already, man, make sure you hit that like button on YouTube. Appreciate you. All right. So LeBron James, I tell you, this guy, he's truly a genius in terms of keeping himself constantly in the sports media, right? Because the NBA hasn't really started yet. All the focus is on college football and the NFL. And so he manages to always keep himself in the sports media news cycle. Now, this time, it wasn't specifically him coming out and saying something, although it wouldn't surprise me at all if he had some involvement in that happening. But recently, Austin Reeves was interviewed and he was kind of asked about something. He was asked about LeBron James and playing one-on-one. It kind of started as discussing one-on-one, and then he got into it. So let's give me 1 second. Sorry, I lost that clip here. I thought I had it ready for you guys. I apologize for that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, give me 1 second. I will grab that clip for you, and then we'll play it and talk about it. But yeah, so I'll tell you what's interesting, right? If you go back and look at Austin Reeves, he had a number of clips from when he was growing up, high school, junior high, and forward, kind of banging on LeBron, right? Which I thought was interesting. But now he's one of LeBron's biggest defenders, which I guess, people can change their opinions over time. And now he knows LeBron personally. He plays with him. He plays on the same team with him. And so I guess he sees LeBron from a different angle. So this is neat. But anyway, Austin Reeves was asked an interesting question, and check out the response. We'll come back and we'll get into discussing it.
Anyone for your life?
I'll play anybody one-on-one. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna win, but I'll play anybody.
You play Bron one-on-one?
Yeah.
Have you played him one-on-one?
Nah, he don't play one-on-one. He said one-on-one's not real basketball, which I kind of agree with. I'll play Sam Hauser.
Sam Hauser.
NBA champion, by the way. Congrats.
So I thought that was really interesting, right? So, and we'll hear some more comments in a minute. But so the question is, have you played LeBron one-on-one? And he says, LeBron says one-on-one isn't real basketball. So any of us who've ever picked up a basketball, probably before we ever played any organized or 5-on-5, we started out, we playing one-on-one, we playing 33, depending on where you come from, or 21 or Utah, wherever you come from, right? Whatever you call it, we all play some version of one-on-one. Why? Because one-on-one, however that works for you, it's a testament to your skill set, both on the offensive and defensive end. It shows what you could do. It shows what's in your quote unquote bag, right? What's in your bag. And it's funny because I've heard LeBron often called the bagless wonder, right? Now, I'm not going to say LeBron has no skills, because there's no way you score 41,000 career points and you have no skills. So that would be absurd, right? But regardless, this is interesting because a while back we heard the stories about how Michael Beasley would kill LeBron one-on-one when they were teammates in Miami and they were in practice. And it even got to the point, Michael Beasley tells a story where he says one day they're playing 5-on-5 or whatever in practice, they're scrimmaging, and he goes and he gets in his stance to go guard LeBron. And LeBron says, LeBron basically told him, Mario Chalmers guarding me today. And so he looks at him, Beasley, and Beasley's not moving. He's like, Mario guarding me today. So I say that to say, I guess he didn't want any part of dealing with Michael Beasley. And why is that? Because we constantly talk about how LeBron's skill set is limited. And we've seen it for 20 years, right? Again, you can't say he doesn't have skill because he has scored a whole lot of buckets. But that said, the way the game is now, the way the game is called, we've never seen a guy consistently put his head down and his shoulder down and attack the lane and attack the rim the way he has. Offensive foul after uncalled offensive foul after uncalled offensive foul for all these years, but he's gotten a lot of points doing it, right? We know that for an all-time leading scorer. We know that not a great mid-range shooter, not a great long-range shooter, and we've seen that the majority of his points, you can go look it up, you don't have to believe me, come from 0 to 3 feet. It just is what it is, right? Sid Bubba says, let's find out. LeBron could be great one-on-one if he chooses. I believe he was taught and he kept that from growing up. No, I don't believe that he could be a great one-on-one. I don't, because if we look at it, there's a lot of things missing when it comes to LeBron and his skill set. He doesn't have great footwork. Despite what people want to believe, he doesn't have a great handle. Look how often he dribbles the ball off his own feet for a guy that's had the ball in his hand all these years. And I'm not just talking about the NBA. We're talking about going all the way back to when he started playing basketball. He's always had the ball in his hands, but he's always dribbling the ball away. Like, it's constant. We look at how off balance he is when he pulls up for his jump shots. There's a lot of things that are really weird about his game that don't match up in terms of when you compare him to the other all-time great scorers, right? A lot of things that just aren't there. But he has spent all this time and all these years in terms of making sure he's healthy, making sure that his body is able to hold up. So there's something to be said for that. But in terms of, like I said, offensive toolkit, it's extremely lacking, right? And that is what it is among the all-time great scorers. He doesn't have Melo's offensive toolkit. He certainly doesn't have Kevin Durant's offensive toolkit. Obviously doesn't have Michael Jordan's. Obviously doesn't have Kobe Bryant's. Like, most of the all-time great scorers have much deeper and better offensive toolkits than LeBron James has. That's not me hating. That's just me having seen basketball all these years, right? And so another interesting comment. See, people know this stuff about LeBron, right? A while back, I guess not too long after the Olympics, Jason Tatum was on Carmelo Anthony's podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. And here were some comments from that. This was interesting as well.
Coach come in and he's just like, you know how to do the football drill, the ring of fire, where they just call out two names and they got to go at it like head to head. Coach comes in, he's just like, JT, Bron, the 10, let's go. You shoot for ball. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Bron ain't playing.
Yeah. Bro, like, yo, fuck out of here.
What?
He's like, rolling my ankle playing against.
It'll be JT, Ant, KD, Book. Stafford jumping there a little bit.
Kawhi play? I think he would.
Kawhi, you know why Kawhi play? Because it's the game would be different. Like, the rules would be different. It'll be 2 dribbles, 1 dribble. Right? So Kawhi is in those situations. And he know what to do in the 1-2 dribble situations. So it'll be a small group of guys. Not everybody.
Who's sitting out?
I just told you.
So look at that. Melo is putting it out there, and LeBron is his boy, right? LeBron is Melo's boy, but he's putting it out there. What everybody knows, skill set is lacking. And notice one of the things he said, 1 dribble, 2 dribble pull up. All the elite scorers have that, right? All the elite scorers have that, whether it's Bird or it's Pistol Pete or excluding big men, of course, because that's different. But even David Robinson had that, and Hakeem Olajuwon had that, and of course Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and well, I guess James Harden doesn't have that. That's weird. He's got to dribble 14, 15 times to be able to get a shot off. But most of the elite all-time scorers, they have that because their fundamentals are so much better and they can do that, right? But again, that's LeBron. He's totally missing so much stuff, and it's really weird to me. So I think now you get into looking at, have we ever noticed that let me back up. When I say LeBron's career is very contrived and manipulated, yes, it's an all-time great career. Yes, he scored a lot of points. He's grabbed a lot of rebounds. He's dished out a ton of assists. But in terms of the positioning of where he should be on the all-time lists, his career is very contrived. And why is that? Because he's been so careful about the marketing piece and how he manipulates that, and how he manipulates the media, and how he manipulates how he is seen by so many. Because think about it, when you just have the GOAT debate, and a lot of people Transformer included, don't like the GOAT debate anymore. And I understand it. But when you have this debate and you talk to people about it and people are on LeBron's side, what do you hear? I'm not going to run down their arguments, but when I say that, I say what they do is they echo what they hear in the mainstream media, which is why LeBron and his team, Clutch and so on, they try so valiantly to control everything that comes out of the media in reference to him, because it's all contrived. For instance, LeBron James has never done the dunk contest, and I did a show about that a while back as well. And the reason he's never done the dunk contest, somebody that's in the know told me that he lost the dunk contest in high school and he felt like he got screwed. So he said he was never going to do another one. And Sprite and Nike begged him when he was young to do the dunk contest, and he refused. And I was also told that he was also afraid of losing it publicly, right? Because we know LeBron is a power dunker. He's not an artful dunker. He's not going to be creative enough to come up with all this stuff. So he's afraid of being under the lights, having basically the whole basketball world watching, and he's got to go out there and do these dunks. Why? Because it's a solo event. He's not going to be able to say, I made the right basketball play. He's not going to be able to dish it off to someone else if the moment gets too big for him. That is what LeBron is about, right? So he ducks those type of situations. And so I think it's a very similar thing when you're talking about him and playing one-on-one. Transformer says he isn't a one-on-one type of player. His biggest skill is his driving ability. I agree. OW, I don't know what that is. He's just going to shoot straight up. He developed a better post fade, but still not up to par with other great post guys. Right, absolutely. Nino says, are we getting shooting confused with scoring? No, we're not. But what I'm saying is, and Nino, I know I triggered you because I talked about your boy, but the fact is, what I'm saying is, the ability to play one-on-one, so much of that comes down to having a varied offensive skill set, which LeBron does not have, which is why he's going to say it's not just that he's not going to play one-on-one, but what he has to do is disparage it, right? Because that's the other thing when it comes to LeBron. It's not just about what he will or won't do or what he can or can't do. What he can or can't do has to always get disparaged so as to lift him up. And that's, if you're familiar with this show, you know the one thing I always say is, if LeBron is what he says he is and what Clutch wants us to believe and what so many of his minions and so on and so forth want us to believe, why does his work not stand on its own merit? Why do we have to disparage the quote-unquote opposition to lift him up? And this is the same thing here, right? He can't just say, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to play one-on-one. What he says is one-on-one is not real basketball. And I get it, right? To an extent. Basketball is a 5-on-5 game. And all the great coaches and players, they will tell you that, right? It's a 5-on-5 game, and it's at its best when 5 players are moving in concert to achieve a goal. And I totally understand that. That said, often enough in the game of basketball, when it breaks down, you have to have guys that are able to get you that bucket. And that's when you have to be able to go one-on-one, and having the one-on-one. Oh, otherwise, okay, gotcha, Transformer. That's when you have to have the one-on-one skill set, right? For instance, let's look at a guy who has the elite one-on-one skill set, one of the greatest one-on-one skill sets ever. See that guy right there, number 8? He also wore number 24. So this is just, I just cut this clip from another show that I did, but Kobe could attack the rim. As we know, he could finish at the rim, whether with a dunk or a difficult layup. As we see here, he could finish through contact, which is something LeBron absolutely excels at. So I gotta give him his credit. But what I like is Kobe was dominant in the mid-range. So when people talk about LeBron's efficiency, Kobe was actually a much better mid-range shooter. Kobe, exceptional footwork, way better than LeBron, right? He had much more, again, in his offensive toolkit that he could turn to. So if defenses defended him a certain way, well, he could deal with that, no problem, right? That's why realistically Kobe took a lot of quote unquote bad shots, because he had practiced everything. He had so many moves and so many counters that he could make so many difficult shots, right? And LeBron can't say that. If LeBron can't get his shoulder down and go to the rim, for the most part, he's ineffective. We know that. You can call me a hater. You can say you disagree. All that is great. But the fact is, the numbers prove it in terms of him and where the majority of his points have come from throughout his career. I mean, that just is what I find it so interesting. And Kobe actually talked about that. And I think I can't remember exactly when it was, but they asked him, if if he could beat LeBron one-on-one. He says, yeah, one-on-one, that's my thing. That's what I do at my core of a player. That's what I am. And again, realistically, we all start when we play basketball at playing one-on-one. Again, whether it's literally me against you, me against Transformer at the park, check up, let's go, or whether it's all right, we're gonna play 21, or you play 33, depending on where you're from, or you play Utah. I mean, whatever it is, that's a one-on-one game, right? And so that helps to develop your skill set. That helps to develop your handles and you being able to pull out different moves and play against different guys and all that in terms of how people defend you and so on and so forth. And that is why we see that LeBron is going to say something like, oh, one-on-one's not real basketball. Like, that's absurd. Do you think we would hear Michael Jordan say that? Do you? Do you think that, I mean, and the reason I bring up Jordan, obviously, I've said time and time again, there's no comparison between LeBron and Michael James. The GOAT comparison or the GOAT debate is not a debate, in my estimation. But at the end of the day, I only bring up Michael Jordan because that's what invariably ends up happening, right? We get LeBron versus Mike. But the thing is, how can we say, realistically, this is not me hating. I'm really trying to understand. Somebody put it in the chat. How can we say that one-on-one is not real basketball? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Somebody let me know in the chat. How can we say that? And why do you think that LeBron is saying that? I think we know why. Yeah, so I mean, you're watching these guys and it's just absolutely incredible. Now, don't get me wrong, LeBron, incredible career as well. And I'm not trying to say that he has no one-on-one ability, because if we remember when he did, what was it, the 48 special in the playoffs against Detroit, I think in 2007, before going to his first NBA finals, I mean, he went crazy. He got super hot, but he went crazy. And so I get it. But for him to say one-on-one is not real basketball, again, I just think that's him trying to manipulate the situation. He is trying to get someone else in his corner. Because remember, Austin Reeves, after he said, LeBron says one-on-one is not real basketball. And I kind of agree with him. You kind of agree with him, but you just finished talking about how you'll play one-on-one against anybody. So how do you kind of agree with him? Or are you just trying to defend your teammate? Like, if you're just trying to defend your teammate, I get it, but you don't really agree with him. You're just saying that because he's LeBron, right? So, again, man, this whole one-on-one is not real basketball. It's just disturbing to me. It's another situation where he is trying to manipulate how people think. He's trying to explain away his own deficiencies, and it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Nino says you're getting it confused. 1v1 is a whole different meaning now. All right, Nino, tell me how that is. Matter of fact, let's do this. I don't have anything else to say on this topic, so you know what time it is. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the phone number in the chat, 8264-904-219-8264, and it's scrolling on the bottom of your screen. I would love for someone to call in and explain to me why one-on-one supposedly isn't real basketball, and give me your thoughts on this topic and your thoughts on LeBron James regarding this topic. Seriously, Stuart, what's good, man? I think you're new. I haven't seen you before, so appreciate you for stopping in, checking out the show. Make sure you click that like and subscribe. Make sure you click that share button too, man. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Seriously, Stuart says his one-on-one game is very limited. Look how Tony Parker and Jamal Murray, Jason Kidd defended him. Absolutely. So you put him in a situation where he can't put his head down, and he's not necessarily going to do that with a smaller guy, right? Why? Because if he does that with a smaller guy, he's going to knock that guy over, and the offensive foul that he normally gets away with a defender of his size, it's going to be too obvious for the referee not to call it. Look how Tony Parker and Jamal Murray, Jason Kidd defended him. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm astounded, and I've said this for years, for a guy who's handled the ball so long in his basketball life, I can't understand why he dribbles the ball off his feet so often. I can't understand why he doesn't have a better handle. That's really weird to me. And so, I guess it is what it is. 904-219-8264. No calls on this one? Okay. Really expected to hear from you guys on that. I thought I'd have some LeBron defenders in here. Also thought maybe I would have someone just kind of explain this to me. Definitely would want to get your thoughts on that. Okay, got one. Man down Mel, what's good, bro?
What's good, brother? How you doing?
Maintaining. What you got?
Well, I'm going to say this real quick. 101 is real basketball, and people just look at it from the offensive end, but it also helps you with your defense. Like defending in space, that's 101, right? You know, so you're not always going to have a help defender. So keeping someone in front of you is one thing that you got to have when you're competing against somebody 1-on-1. So that's
True.
number one. Number two is everything about scoring comes down to 1-on-1. It don't matter how many plays I run or how many screens I set. At some point, I've got to be able to beat this man that's trying to stop me from getting to the rim or getting to my spot for a 1-2 dribble pull up or whatever the case may be. I got to be able to shake that person off 1-on-1. You can't get a screen for every possession on your offense. Well, LeBron James tries to get a screen.
Yes, he
Luka
does.
tries to get a screen for everything. But for the most part, you got to be able to beat a man 1-on-1. So 1-on-1 is basketball, and it's on both ends of the floor. And you know, anybody that's saying anything different is got some other agenda. So that's all I want to say, man.
Definitely. I appreciate you calling in, brother. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Nino, give me a call back. And let me take this. Format Podcast. Who's this?
This good old Sidney Wayne. What's going on, my guy Bruce?
What's going on, man? Do me a favor, not turn off, but mute your YouTube in the background so you don't echo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, who is this? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you were young. Who's this?
Sidney Wayne. It's Sid Bubba.
Oh, what's going on, brother? Okay, got you. What's up, man? What you got?
All right. Well, the comment I made earlier, I think LeBron was taught at an early age to play that type of game, and he always stuck with it. So I don't think that's why I said, you know, growing up in his value system and how he played. So I didn't think he could, you know, he could do 1-on-1. Now, could I think he could do it? Yeah. He learned from Hakeem. He learned from Kobe. He's been playing long enough. If he decided to, he could.
No.
You know.
No.
And hold on, wait a minute. Now, one of his teammates, UD, said this about LeBron. LeBron can emulate any move that we do in practice, and he can do it. Ty Lue said LeBron can score whatever he wants to. I think he just choose not to because that's what he grew up doing. I think he's stubborn in his ways and doing it.
Nah. I'm going to tell you why I argue with that. I'm going to let you finish, then I'm going to tell you why I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that's what he believed in. I don't think he did it because one thing about high school, he never ever that was quote unquote the right way. That's what he believed in, and that's what he stuck in. Now, I'm not saying I'm feeling what you're saying, Bruce, but I'm just saying that's probably the why he plays the way that he plays. That's the way he was taught. You got to remember, he didn't go to college like Mike. That's where you get all your fundamentals at in college. And he didn't play overseas like Kobe, so I think his background's a little bit different. So that's why the way he plays to me.
Okay. All right, let me push back on you a little bit here, Sid. All right, so here's the deal, right? So, all right, where do I start with this? So first, that nonsense UD says he can emulate any move. So he did go and train with Hakeem, and his post game is still suspect. So no, he came up watching Kobe, right? Can't do anything that Kobe did. So no.
Okay.
Second, you mentioned that he came up being taught a certain way, right? So let's put this to the guy that he is most often compared to for whatever ridiculous reason, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came up that same way, right? We often hear the what is the thing that only person who can hold Michael Jordan under 20 is who? Dean Smith, right? Am I right?
Right.
Okay, so we know that Michael Jordan played in an extremely constrained system of basketball, both at North Carolina, then when he got into the triangle in Chicago with Phil Jackson, right? So we know he played in two extremely constrained systems, yet that never stopped us from seeing the myriad of offensive tools that he had. So this business of, well, LeBron came up playing in certain ways. Well, so did Michael Jordan, because he played for one of the most system-oriented, taskmaster, all-time great head coaches that we've ever seen. Remember the last segment I was talking about Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas played for who? Robert Montgomery Knight, the general, right? And we know the general was like, you're going to run this motion. We're not playing around out here. You're going to run my system. But what? When he got to the NBA, we saw his skill set and his brilliance, come to the surface. We don't see that with LeBron because it's not there. He doesn't have it. And so I think it's a perfect argument for him, for people to say, and I'm not trying to get on you, but for people to say, well, this is the way he came up playing and the fundamentals and the right way. But even if you look, his fundamentals are missing. Like I talked about, his footwork is bad. His ball handling is loose for a guy who's been the primary ball handler on all his teams his entire life. I can't figure it out. There's so much missing. Even if you look at his jump shot mechanics, he is making more shots now because 20 years, and he has to, because he can't attack the rim with reckless abandon every play down like he used to when he was younger. But his jump shot mechanics are off. If you look at it, his body is always off balance when he shoots his jump shot. It's just weird. And so I say all that to say, I'm sure Bruce, you hating on Bron again. Yeah, whatever. Think what you think. No, I'm not saying you're saying that. I guarantee you there's a lot of people who will say that to me. But everything I'm saying is true, right? Now, the biggest thing is he scored 41,000 career points. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you he has no skill. That's a hell of a lot of points to have scored with no skill, right? But that said, it's all about when you compare him to the other all-time great scorers, right? Like we talked about KD, and we talked about Melo, and we talked about Jordan, and we talked about Kobe. Those are, quick four ones I'm mentioning. He can't do any of what those guys could do. He can't. Right. Where is it? Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
All right. But I never compared LeBron really to MJ, Kobe, Carmelo, none of those guys, because he's a unique player. So to me, with his body type, he's kind of like Karl Malone. He's an amalgam of Karl Malone and John Stockton. So Magic was tall, but the Magic had a tight handle.
That's right.
For 6'9". Right. So LeBron's unique. I think the thing was he's a very unique player, so I don't compare him. Because Jordan wouldn't be guarding LeBron because, like you said, Jordan don't guard power forwards and centers with LeBron. He can play. He can go 1 through 5 guard. I think.
Can I hold on real quick?
Okay.
We keep pushing that narrative. LeBron can guard 1 through 5. It's a smaller league today, right? These centers are not real centers. These power forwards are not real power forwards. And LeBron is 6'9", 6'10", 260, 270 pounds. And so, yes, he has the physical size to guard those guys. But if he had to guard real ones, could he really do it? I mean, he's not really locking people up, right? So there's this whole he can guard 1 through 5. That's a narrative that gets pushed. Go ahead.
Okay, but no, what I was saying, though, he can because of his size. In certain spots, he has to do it. So you see him he guarded KG, he guarded TD. He had to guard Tony Parker. He had to guard a small forward. But, that's to say he's more of a multiple defender. But getting back to the scoring 101, I think if he really put his mind to it, I really compare him to Karl Malone. That's more of a comparison that I think than Michael enough because of his body and his skill set. I would have. No, he can't. Hey, LeBron's a Hummer truck in the tank. He ain't gonna move like a Ferrari. He ain't gonna move like Mike.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Now, can he score because he's brutish like Shaq? Absolutely.
Nah, that's fair.
Shaq had a little skit, So that's kind of why I'm getting at. Could he play 1-on-1? If he really wanted to, I believe he could.
I can't agree with that, but I hear what you're saying.
Okay, but I'm just saying if he chose to. You said if he chose to, he can't. But I believe he could if he chose to.
All right.
I think, but I believe from this aspect, from a philosophical aspect, that Bron is stuck in his ways. that's probably why he ain't doing one-on-one. He just never did it. That's why he chooses to do.
I hear what you're saying. That I get it now. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Right. Yeah, from his background, yeah.
Well, all right, there we go. Thanks for calling, Sid, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right. Yeah, we should have my boy Gino on here so we get me and him go at it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Nino, a good dude, man.
Brother.
I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call.
All right.
All right, Nino, go ahead and call back before we move on to the next topic, man. Sorry I missed you. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. But yeah, that I think that was a fair argument that Sid Bubba had. Do I agree with it completely? No, because like I said, I think it's you got other guys who played in systems, but you could still see their skill set. Nino, what's good, brother?
My man Bruce, can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Y'all should listen to the last caller. He was schooling y'all on some facts.
Okay.
But what I'm getting at, I think why every time we go to 101, we bring up a basketball subject, we go to the greats. We go to Carmelo's and the MJs.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's talking about the days because I play. Okay, would you call the way James Harden likes to play? Is that one-on-one basketball?
It is, but I don't think he's a great one-on-one player. But it is.
But that's the basketball I think Bron talks about. If you look at how the kids play, the youth play, that's what the type of basketball they play.
Okay,
you go spread out, and they can't even create. Now, if you got a Bron, a Kobe, a MJ, that makes sense. Well, MJ before the triangle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can spread it out. Nobody's gonna be able to stay in front of MJ.
Right.
But you guys, if you go to your regular part, this how players. Everybody's playing that way. And you go to high school games, they stopping and shooting three. They want to. They got no ball movement.
Mm-hmm.
They think they in the NBA. So I think that's what he was speaking to. I think he's talking about because if you look at MJ played one-on-one, great one-on-one, yes. But it was in a midst of a system, and he didn't just go out there and go James Harden. Even Magic, you can say he one-on-one, but he facilitate. He looking, I think that's another. I get on that Nick or the LeBron comparison, but I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay,
there's two types of one-on-ones. It's one-on-ones where it benefits like Michael Beasley. He probably everybody say he's a great one-on-one player, unstoppable.
Yeah.
But it's more to basketball than one-on-one.
Absolutely.
I think if he could, along with his problems, everybody got their problems, but his problems and his ability to think, like J.R. Smith probably was great one-on-one. He can't think. He don't think basketball. Like I still don't know. He mad at Bron and everybody else. How you don't know in the NBA Finals what the score is?
Yeah.
I mean,
I get it.
I understand Bron. But I get everybody the point. Bron had a fit over there. You got to still hold it together. But I bet Bron thinking, it's the NBA Finals. This motherfucker don't know the score. Oh, excuse me, bro. But I got mad again. He don't know the score.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm thinking we talking about 101s. We always go to the greats. Like MJ can't. This is why the key is. Okay, would you say Magic will have the same problems that Bron will have playing those type of one-on-one, two dribbles, pull up? That don't mean MJ, them guys is better than Magic.
Because we don't look
That's what I think.
Because we don't look at Magic as an all-time great scorer. Could he score in certain situations? Yes, but we don't look at him that way. That's why, because we know what Magic's. Yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
You're gonna appreciate this because I know where you can go. You're a real basketball. Did Magic not take over scoring in one of them finals?
He did.
When they asked him to? So could he score? Could Magic score?
Yes.
That's my point of it's basketball used to be a game of what you need to do for the team. Magic can score. He just didn't he had will. I mean Kareem appreciate it. So that's what I'm thinking he's talking about playoffs is just want to go out there, spread it out.
As usual, Nino, man, really good call. But the only place I'm going to push back on you asked when it comes to these conversations with LeBron, why do we always jump to the greats? That's where he wants to be. That's where he wants to be. That's where the mainstream sports media puts him. That's where so many fans put him. So you can't compare LeBron to Bruce Hope, right? You can't do that. That's not going to work. You got to compare him to
No,
other guys who are
like the
pantheon
comment.
level players. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like the comment. So we say 101 basketball. Could this player play in this era? And then we'll go say, oh, MJ played in the era. Anybody that don't say MJ can play in the era, neither.
Man, believe me, there's a lot of people then that need to be tested, bro. Say again?
Well, that was the youth. The youth and they ain't real basketball. How can I put this? You got LeBron haters, you got Kobe haters, MJ haters. Then you got basketball people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about basketball people. You gonna say Elijah one, Shaq couldn't play in the era. They don't remember Shaq. That's because they don't remember Shaq before, and they don't even know how good Shaq could move.
Right.
When he was big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like Kobe. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I think we got to start talking about the role players in the era, because some of this stuff is crazy. But I don't know. Y'all could be right. I could be right. I just believe he's looking at, because, you know, he be going to the high school games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I be going to the high school games. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of bad 101. I go to NBA games too. And them guys tough 101.
Mm-hmm.
Them high school and some of that college basketball, the spray isolation. Some of them guys don't need no isolation, Bruce. They need to be running. Listen, they need to remember when we was this. Well, you probably had the same rule. I caught the last of it. You wasn't even allowed to shoot threes unless you was just wide open.
right.
You wasn't coming down court shooting no threes.
No, you were not.
So that's what
no, you come down and get into your offense, and if a three results from that, or absolutely. Nah, I got you, man. It wasn't no just coming over and pulling up like nah.
Right. So that's what I think. I think that's the context of. But my last thing I'm gonna say to the last caller point. I think y'all. I think I see it now. The MJ fans think Bron play like MJ. Like that's the greatness. He play like MJ. We don't say Bron score like. We don't even say Bron score like Kobe, because we love Kobe. Bron don't score like Kobe. That's not why we love Bron. Mm-hmm. We love Bron because of everything he do on the court together. Now we ain't gonna. Even with the last shot, I know you ain't never heard me disagree with, well, I want MJ or Kobe take the last shot. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I speak for the whole totality of the game. So when they say Bron need a closer, which means somebody that can make that mid-range, that go-to mid-range move, he needs that in his game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's been a disconnected. Maybe it's just been a disconnect this whole time. I look at Bron like a big Magic, a fast Magic. I know what you're gonna say. Now, calm down, bro.
I'm good. I think that I think the last caller, Sid Bubba, he made a good point when he said he's kind of more like a Karl Malone, who's a great passer. I can't go as far as Magic, but I get where you're going with that. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm not mad. I wouldn't mention the two in the same, but I get what you're saying. I do.
Yeah, he can jump like MJ, but he ain't got that. I mean, MJ mid-range killer, man. Kobe mid-range, and the footwork, the technique of a. Come on, man. So it's different people. So I listen to you and Man Down. It's a difference between a hater and a critique of basketball skills. Mm-hmm. Y'all are critiquing skills, not the dude on the comment right there. That's what we call hatred. I need him to call it.
No. Transformer showing you love, man. He's showing you love.
No, not Transformer. No, not Transformer.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you meant the comment I just put up. All right.
Well, appreciate it, man.
All right, brother. Thank you for the call and the support as always, Nino. Appreciate you, man. Stick around. All right. Some good calls there, man. I really appreciate the interaction, guys. Thank you as always. And all right. Next up, I believe that's me. Let's go to the next topic. So, all right. So, got some good basketball talk in there. And what is this? This is the end of September. So we got about 3 weeks till NBA season starts, I think. So NBA season is almost upon us. Then we're going to have a really packed sports calendar, but it's all good. All right. So here we go. Trouble in Big D, man. Man, Cowboys. We've talked about this time and time again. Jerry Jones just being out more for headlines than being out for winning, although he doesn't seem to realize or remember, I don't know, that the more you win, the more headlines you get. And those are the real headlines you want. But he doesn't seem to care as long as his guys are all over the TV and his team is all over the newspapers, for those who still read newspapers, and all over the internet and all over the podcast. Well, guess what, Jerry? I'm going to give you some attention today. My show is small, but I'm going to give you some attention. Cool. So what's going on in Dallas, man? The Cowboys are 1-2 to start the season. They are one of the worst freaking defenses, run and pass, in the entire league. And they're just not playing well. And, well, you know, we heard so much Cowboy talk all offseason, as we do every offseason, right? About Jerry and the Cowboys being all in, and about not being in a rush to get guys signed. And then CeeDee Lamb held out, and you finally gave in and you maxed him out. And then Dak Prescott, he was looking to likely be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. And you held out and you made sure you drew all of the attention possible out of it. And then you maxed him out right before the season started. I have no idea why you did that, but hey, it's going to come back to bite you. So you maxed out Dak instead of thinking, hey, you know, maybe, you know, we make him prove it. This is a prove it year, right? If he proves it, gets us either to the NFC Championship game or to the Super Bowl, we'll give him whatever he wants. If he wins the Super Bowl, we give him what, like, if I was an owner, that's how I would do it, especially in a situation like Dak. Okay, yeah, you were second team All-Pro last year, got it. You're a multiple-time Pro Bowler, got it. Okay, you can throw the ball, great. What is that doing for me when it counts most? And I've talked about this ad nauseum. You all know how I feel about overpaying guys who haven't earned it. And, well, you'll see in the next segment. But the point is, when it comes to this whole Dak thing, I really believe he just wanted all the attention of the sports news cycle all summer long. And that is what he did. He got all that attention. And right before the season started, he gave Dak the freaking, you know, the biggest contract in league history. Again, I don't get it, man. So as we see here, Dak Prescott, 4 years, $240 million, 60 million average salary, a signing bonus of $80 million. So that gets that up front. 129 million guaranteed, a signing total guarantees of 231, which now surpasses the fully guaranteed deal of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, 230 mil. But the difference is this is total guarantees versus fully guarantees. And you can look that up. But still, a lot of guaranteed money, and Dak is probably going to see all that. So I just, again, you know, I totally don't get the reason why you did that. You went through all of that just to pay him, but fine, you paid him. Now, you got CD paid, you got Dak paid. After this year, you're probably going to need to figure out what you're going to do with Michael Parsons. And what is it getting you? It's getting you absolutely nothing because your team is bad. Your team is bad. And Transformer says here, what did he say? They are what? In trouble. Absolutely. I just don't get it. So you're watching this team and it's like they have no heart. Dak Prescott, he got paid and he almost seems to be like, hey, I'm good now. You know, we've seen him basically, we've seen the Cowboys get roughed up a couple of times, and Dak has not, out of the first 3 games, played an outstanding game yet. He played so-so in the win against Cleveland in the opener, played like total garbage in the blowout loss at home against New Orleans. And then he played really badly, even though the numbers look good. He played badly against Baltimore. Now, that said, I will give credit. It looked like he tried to fight back against Baltimore, or maybe Baltimore did what Baltimore does and built a big lead and started, you know, took their foot off the gas and let the Cowboys get back into the game. That's possible. But regardless, Dak looked like he really was trying to fight back. But to the Transformers point and G's point, we talked about this the other night. Dak has a habit of, you know, racking up the numbers when the game is out of reach to make it look reasonable, right? So that, you know, at the end of the year, well, I threw for this amount of yards and blah, blah, blah. And we saw it in the playoffs last year against Green Bay. And the thing that I always say is this: we can blame the defense all we want. And we're going to talk a little bit about that shortly. We can blame the defense all we want. At what point? What was it? Is it 28-3 or something like that at one point on Sunday against the Ravens? Can't remember what the score was, but the Ravens were up huge. And I'm saying this, okay, your defense doesn't show up, but you're supposed to be that guy. You're the highest paid player in the history of the game, and people want to believe that you're some type of elite quarterback or very, very good quarterback. What are you supposed to do when your defense doesn't show up? You have to turn the game into a shootout. So every time they come out and score, you got to come out and score. They score, you score. They score, you score. Not get down into a terrible hole before you got to try to start throwing it all over the place to dig yourself out. That's what I'm saying. And we saw this in the playoffs against Green Bay. We saw it against Dallas the other day. We saw against New Orleans. Now, the game didn't get nearly as close against New Orleans, but it's the same thing over and over again. If you're that guy, you're Dak, why do you keep allowing your team to fall into these holes? Where is the production to pick up a defense that is playing terribly this year? Where is it? And so before he got paid, we're seeing all this business of, oh, well, if Jerry doesn't pay him, you're going to have a number of suitors who are going to be willing to give Dak $60 million a year on the open market. Who? How? Why? Are we serious here? How, Sway? You ain't got the answers? Like, I really don't get it. Who are these people? And why would you do that when you can see that he's not the guy that's going to take you over the top? Now you got a situation where I'm sure Mike McCarthy is going to get a whole bunch of the blame, and he's probably going to get fired after this year, right? He's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. If we're head coach, excuse me. If we're honest, Dak Prescott has had his most productive seasons as starting quarterback under Mike McCarthy. But guess what? They paid the player, so he's locked up. They got to deal with him, so they can't cut him. They have to fire the coach and bring in somebody else. And you fire the coach and bring in someone else, and we'll see the same thing all over again, that Dak simply isn't the guy to get you there. But so be it. Now, let's talk about this terrible defense, right? What the hell is going on with the Cowboys defense? They are getting gashed on the ground. I mean, it's terrible. I think the Ravens had almost 300 rushing yards against the Cowboys the other day. Just a sec, I'll bring that up. I want to say it was 270 something. NFL. Sorry, I should have had this up. Scores. Sorry, guys. I should have had this up. I apologize. I'm looking at because I want the exact number here. Chargers, Steelers, Ravens, Cowboys. Here we go. And let's see. So the Ravens rushed for there we go. I thought it was 270. The Ravens rushed 45 times for 274 yards against Cowboys the other day, giving up 6.1 yards per carry. That is horrendous. And Michael Parsons is out here getting upset with people. He's getting upset with his teammates, and they're not doing this and they're not doing that. What are you doing, Michael Parsons? You're supposed to be elite. Now, this is a guy who has had more than 13 sacks in each of his 3 professional seasons, so he's going to be looking for his money. He's been all-pro all 3 seasons. I think first team twice and second team last year, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was second team the second year and first year. But regardless, he's a guy who has been an elite pass rusher in his career thus far. And let's see. So far this season, Michael Parsons has, I wanted to see how many sacks he has. He has 1 sack. 1 sack. So he's projected for 5.7 sacks on the year. Now, I'm sure at some point he's going to break out, right? But the fact is this. Michael Parsons is another dude that gets a lot of hype. But if you watch when he plays against the better teams, he disappears. He is not a game wrecker. So if you look at his physical tools and his natural ability, monster. But give me Aiden Hutchinson instead. Aiden Hutchinson's motor never goes off. He's always around the quarterback. And he is a legitimate game wrecker. He's been that since college, and we see it in the league. Give me him. I will take him over Michael Parsons. Is he as gifted physically? No. But he works more, and he doesn't disappear in the big games. And for me, that's a problem. Like, where is that? And now, on back to the offense, you're seeing when Dak doesn't play well and the offense isn't clicking. Now you're starting to see some frustration. And don't get me wrong, these guys are all, testosterone filled, A type A personalities and alpha guys, right? But the fact is, when the offense is not clicking and guys aren't getting it done, now you're starting to see this this beef creeping up between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. And guess what? You're stuck with them both. So now you got a situation where you overpaid this guy. Jerry Jones refuses to acknowledge that he should step away and bring in a real football person to be the GM. Like, why can't you just do that? Have you not seen what the great Robert Kraft did? Have you not seen what what's his name? Mr. Hunt in Kansas City did? Like, all these other guys who win championships, they step aside and let their football people do their football work. And when it comes time, guess what? They get the ultimate recognition, because who gets to hold the championship trophy first? The owner. They give it to the owner first, and then they pass it around. So why can't you do that, Jerry? Are you not seeing that your ego is so big that it's hurting you? Your ego is so big that it's what's keeping you from winning and doing what you say you want most. I don't believe you want it most. I don't believe you want a championship as bad as you do. You want a championship badly, but you only want it your way. You only want it being the reason. Man, to hell with that. Get your championships, win, get your money, right? Because we know how much money championship runs generate, especially if you have multiple home games in the playoff. We know how much money that generates. So get your money, get your titles, and everyone will respect you the same way. But nope. You got to do your radio show every week. You got to be the guy that reporters are looking for to stick their camera in the face after every game. You got to be the guy that the camera's always going up to the box and showing your face. You got to be the guy making all the personnel decisions. You got to be the guy. You got to be the guy. You got to be the guy. What's up, man? Do you really care about winning, or do you just care about being in the limelight? That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. Now, I'll say this. Has your way of doing things made your team, your organization, your franchise the most valuable sports franchise on God's green earth? It absolutely has, right? $10 billion valuation. And I'm sure if you were to decide to sell it, somebody probably give you 13 or 14 for it. That's how real the Dallas Cowboys are. Their fan base is gigantic. The amount of merch they sell, so on and so forth. You would get so much money if you decided to sell that. So I get it. But if you're talking about winning, how about you just stop telling us how you would do anything and there's no check you wouldn't write to get another Lombardi? How about you stop telling us that and do what it really takes to get a Lombardi? Get out of the way and stop being the reason that your team is going through all this. Because now I think it's a pretty fair assumption. Could be wrong. It's only 3 games in, but I think it's a pretty fair assumption that you'll be moving on to another head coach next season. And the problem is, you can only have certain head coaches because you have to be the guy that's always, again, in the limelight. You got to be the guy that controls everything. You can't just be hands off and let your coaches coach. You can't just have a GM and a president like a normal franchise and let them deal with things, and you only deal with the stuff that has to come to the top, or whether it deals with signing checks. You can't do that because your ego won't allow it. And that's cool. That's cool. But don't sit here and tell us how much you want to win and how badly you want to win and how you'll do anything to win, because it's not true. It's just not true. We all see it. We all know it. Just stop. Just stop. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. They need to figure out a way to do better in the draft. They need to figure out what they're going to do with Michael Parsons. Now, Michael Parsons, for all of what I said earlier, he's still an elite pass rusher, right? So what are some of your options with Michael Parsons? Obviously, you sign him to a max deal, because if you do, he's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. So be it. That's just how it goes. We got this business of whoever's up next in the NFL. Don't really like it. I've talked about it ad nauseum, but that's the way they do things. And we'll talk about that some more in the next topic. But regardless, you do that. But what's a better option? Michael Parsons, again, an elite pass rusher. What do? He's still young. He's very healthy. He's very productive. Trade him and get a haul. You get players, you get picks. You can extend out this roster that you have, and then you don't have to worry about paying him. Trade him and get a haul. That's what you should do, because you already got a ton of money tied up in Dak and CeeDee Lamb. And here's the other crazy thing. You know, people have asked Jerry Jones about why he didn't get Derrick Henry. I believe Derrick Henry has a house in Dallas. And I said it last year. If the Cowboys had gotten Derrick Henry via trade, they probably would have a championship now. Like the way Dak was playing last year, as much as I get on Dak, he was playing at an extremely high level. But now you add into that an old school power eye back, right? Last time we saw the Cowboys really have one of those, what did it result in? 3 championships, right? So if they had gotten Derrick Henry, I truly believe they would have won the title last year. But, you know, Jerry Jones didn't want to do that. And now he's pushing the nonsense of they couldn't afford it. They didn't have the money. Man, stop it, Jerry. You got the money. Because I remember him saying something to the effect, I don't know if it was when Stephen A. Smith was interviewing him a few weeks ago or someone else during the summer, and he was talking about, well, there's only but so much money, and, to pay these guys, you got to put stuff on the credit card and all that. Man, listen, you got a $10 billion plus franchise. And what I also didn't know, if you own these franchises, like, you can borrow against them. So let's just say hypothetically that you don't have the money. We know you do. But let's just say hypothetically you don't have the money. You could borrow against it, pay the guys you need to pay, win, make all this money, and then you just pay the loan off. Like, this, I don't know. It doesn't seem that difficult, man. But the way Jerry is moving and the way these Cowboys are moving, they are in huge trouble. I don't think that they're going to, I know they're not going to be able to get it done because Dak isn't that dude. But now again, you're tied to this guy for what, the next 4 years? I don't know. I think it's just completely ridiculous, and I don't know what made you make that move. But hey, it is what it is. So what I want to do now, I'm gonna go ahead, open up the phone lines here for this 904-219-8264. I'll put it in the chat, and it's also scrolling on the bottom of your screen. I would love to hear some of you guys' thoughts on Dak Prescott, his new deal, Jerry Jones not wanting to get out of the way of his team, and Mike McCarthy, his future. What's the deal in Dallas? What are they going to do? How are they going to get out of this trouble they're in? Because they are bad. And two things. What do I always talk about? Stop the run, run the ball. They can't do either one. They cannot do either one. They can't run it. They can't stop the run. They're getting gassed. And everyone they play this year is going to be attacking them right up the gut to try and run this football. So, yeah, 904-219-8264. I would love your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, whatever else you want to talk about in reference to the Cowboys and what you think is going to go on going forward. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, do we have any new comments? No. Okay. Yeah, man. I don't know. This Cowboy thing is just crazy to me, and I can't understand why it's so difficult to get it right. I really don't. And I'm not saying winning a Super Bowl is easy, right? Dan Marino is one of the greatest players ever, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He couldn't get one. So we get it, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Jerry just can't get out of his own way, and he can't get out of his team's way, and that's why they're not getting it done. That's why they're not getting it done. All right, looks like we're not gonna have any calls on this topic, so let's move on to the last one, and then that'll be it for the day. And then I guess tomorrow night we'll have another one. All right, so Trevor Lawrence and the oh no, we got one. Let's take this. Transformer, what's good, brother?
What's going on, my boy?
Maintaining.
How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Just here, kicking it with the people,
I hear you kicking it with the people, but I hear that you want to discuss something about the turmoil that's going on and what you and I said, Big D.
Yeah. What you got?
First of all, man, those guys are in trouble.
Big trouble.
They're in big trouble, and the bad things about this is that they can't fix it. All right? And I mean this by saying, what can you do to stop a team from running over an average of 100 yards a game and scoring 8 rushing touchdowns? What can you do about that? All right? That sounds like you need a personnel change. Give me a D tackle that's on the market that you can go and get. Nobody. There's not a solid D tackle that can go and stop the run to fill in those gaps. Okay, so what's your secondary problem? All right, you can't find a decent secondary game. Why? Oh, well, guess what? Your top corner just came off of a devastating injury last year. All right, your safety's just getting hit over the top with every freaking ball there is. Give me a good corner and safety that's currently on the market. Can't find one? That sounds like a bad problem. Not only are you letting other teams run the ball with ferocious intent, I believe your average is 62 yards a game. You average 62 yards of rushing a game. Only scored 2 touchdowns from the rushing perspective. Give me a running back that's on the market that you can go and do. Can't find one? Sounds like you still have a problem. So
yeah, but they blew that. They could have found one, but they didn't. But go ahead.
But I'm talking about at the moment.
Okay,
right?
okay,
Like
I
we
got you.
had
I
the
got you.
opportunity during the offseason, the Derrick Henry talk,
Mhm.
and all of those spoken about players that you guys wanted to go get. You guys did not go and get, right? So the whole all in by Jerry Jones didn't seem all in to me. When you still have a gapping issue in the rushing department, you have a gapping issue in your D tackle department, and the secondary is trying to thrive off of Diggs, who is a good cornerback. I think he gets a lot more love than what he should get because he gets beat deep a lot. Like if that's one thing he gets beat on, he gets beat deep. All right. So when you're trying to fix an issue, how can you fix an issue when you don't have the personnel? All right. I say Micah Parsons. What are we saying, Micah? What are we about to say, Micah Parsons? All right, to be a ferocious defensive end who can not only play the rush game, he can also play pass. He can get after your passer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Micah Parsons in say 7-8 months. like where is he at? Where is he at? This is supposed to be the next generation. I think they need to stop this. Of LT, Lawrence Taylor, right?
I never believed that foolishness. That was so
Lawrence Taylor.
disrespectful.
I mean, without him having a lot of skin in the game, we're comparing him to Lawrence Taylor. I would call Lawrence Taylor when the time matters the most. He's going to get a big sack. He's terrifying your quarterback. People were terrified of Lawrence Taylor. I mean, part of that was due because he was, coked up the whole time. You're legit scared of him. But the man was a ferocious rusher to get after your pass. So where's Micah Parsons? You know what I mean? So in terms of trouble, you guys have a personnel issue. You guys have a rushing issue. You guys have a D tackle issue. You have a too hype on the Micah Parsons train issue. You have a Jerry Jones puts his face in the cameras for no reason at all because it ain't got nothing to do with winning issue. You have now a seemingly coaching issue when the coaching issue wasn't happening when Dak Prescott was throwing for 350 yards in garbage time and you guys kept winning 12 wins the back-to-back years, right? So what do you do? What do you do as a Dallas team?
So you make a lot of great points in terms of availability and personnel that can help fix some of this. But you have the personnel that you have, right? And I get that part. But this is where you're paying these coaches this money. So Zimmer better figure it out. Zimmer is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league for a while. This is where you got to scheme things up. I get it. You don't have that 3 technique to stop the run and really be that guy on the interior. But now you have to start scheming stuff up. You have to. That's your job.
Yeah.
If you're getting your linebackers or maybe your safeties more involved in the run game, because now, until you stop the run, every team you line up against is going to line up and try to punch you in the mouth. So you have to be prepared for that. You have to. And so if you're Zimmer, you have to scheme it up with what you got. That's my thought. But I totally get what you're saying.
No. I mean, you make a great point right there because what Mike Zimmer did when he was in, I believe, Minnesota, he was playing against us. He would draw schemes up to stop Aaron Rodgers in some of his best games, right? He wanted to beat him. And then on occasion against other teams with prolific passers, he draws up schemes. But okay, he drew up schemes with that personnel. Isn't Dallas personnel better than what he had in Minnesota? I would argue to say yeah, because you got a Lawrence Taylor, right? I don't think Minnesota had a Lawrence Taylor.
Man, you got to stop, man. You got to stop.
You have a Pro Bowl quarterback in Trevon Diggs. I don't think you had a Pro Bowl quarterback at one point in time, but he ended up leaving. I'm talking about Jesus Christ, his name is leaving my mind right now. But you had one, but then you lost him. But you guys still were a great defense.
So what happened to Bland though? On the other side, what happened to Bland? Because he had a great year last year while Trevon Diggs was out.
Yeah, getting cooked.
Okay.
You ever been to a restaurant where they serve some good fried chicken?
Yes, I have.
That's Bland right now. He's currently getting deep fried. And right now, I mean, I don't know what the issue is. Maybe he was expecting a little bit more praise from what he did when Trevon Diggs was out. Again, that's probably an egotistical issue dealing with him. But you're right. I mean, Diggs comes back, and now you're seemingly a no-show. All right, but that's just the defensive side of the ball. All right, the offensive side of the ball, we have to stop this praising of Dak Prescott and thinking he's coming in a close game with the numbers that he throws in after he's down 3 or 4 touchdowns. I mean, like what we saw against the Ravens, he was down 28-3 at one point.
Yeah.
Okay, so 28-3. I'm just the devil's advocate here. Let's just say the Ravens had to score 4 touchdowns. I'm not even going to count any field goals. So that means the Ravens went down 4 times on 4 different possessions, but he scored a touchdown. That means on the flip side, you had 4 opportunities with the ball to go and score
Exactly.
a touchdown. You had to score. So you can't just seemingly blame it on the defense. Now, if this is a 34-33 game and you guys lost in it, please, okay. I have nothing to blame on Dak Prescott. The defense needs to show up. Lawrence Taylor, Dallas Cowboy version needs to show up, right? But if that's not the issue, you guys were down 28-3. So that means out of the 4 times that you had possession of the ball, the football, you could only muster up 3 points. You're a $60 million quarterback. You're a $60 million quarterback.
I'm
if
with you.
Cut that number in half. I need 30 points. I need 30 points.
That's right. That's right. When you're getting paid like that, I don't care what you think. You got to get it done. And we'll talk about that some more on the next topic. But definitely, I agree.
No, you do have to get it done. And the whole comeback thing, I mean, anybody can have a ferocious comeback because defenses do get lazy. And I think that's what the Ravens did. They got a little lazy. The design is when you're up that big, you put everything in front of you. You don't want to get beat over the top.
Nothing cheap, nothing deep.
Coverage. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. So everything is soft coverage. You keep some receivers in front of you. So of course you can start mustering up 2 or 3 or 4 drives. You get an onside kick. Now the Ravens are kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. I think we played a little too soft. But the Ravens had to get to that point. They had to play soft, right?
Yeah.
Play soft coverage. And that's when you now decide to, okay, now let's go get him. Absolutely not. I'm not paying you $60 million to be a safe now.
Right.
I'm not. That's what I'm not paying you for. I'm paying you to keep me in these ball games, to go out and win these ball games. And if that other team shows up with their quarterback and they're scoring 30, you can also score 30. But then guess what? You get paid more than that. So show me why I'm paying you more than them.
And this, hey, we are on the same page. This is what I've been saying. Remember all summer I'm screaming, don't do it, Jerry, don't do it. He did it.
Well, we know Jerry's going to do it. This guy gets like, I promise you, I'll be glad when the media finally just be like, hey, man, Jerry's going to pay the guy. Because Jerry goes to the podium, this whole, we're not worried about the contract. And, well, 1 + 1 = 2 goldfish. And you're like, what the hell are you saying?
Yeah.
What ain't got nothing to do with this man's contract? 2 weeks later, guess what? You paid him. So,
and you know what's funny? I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought that he really had smartened up and he was going to make him earn it and prove it this year.
No.
I drank the Kool-Aid, man.
I'm
a fool.
This boy Zeke went to Cabo and chilling, and you still paid him. You tried to play with CD Lamb. You ended up paying him. You did this dog and pony show with Dak Prescott, but we know that you wasn't going to put not Amari Cooper, the backup quarterback. What's his name? Cooper? I think it's Cooper.
Cooper Kupp. Not Cooper Kupp.
No,
Cooper Rush.
Kupp. Cooper Rush. There you go. Cooper Rush. So we know you wasn't going to put Cooper Rush in charge of the team and try to go win a Super Bowl because guess what, Jerry? You're saying you're all in. You're all in. So that means you're going to pay him. You're going to pay him because you have no choice because you already said the word all in. But
he said the words all in and he didn't do anything that even remotely resembles all in all summer.
Nothing remotely is. I don't get it. Man.
Oh, my bad. He's all in, so he brought back Zeke. You're right. He was all in.
No, he's all in. He's all in. He's all in on the promos, the videos.
Yes.
He's all in on the interviews. He's all in on the mic being in the place.
He's all in on the radio show.
The Dallas Cowboy coverage, the radio show, like you just said. The media us talking about him.
Facts.
That's what you all in on.
No doubt.
You just want some type of story to be like, hey, man, I know we're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but guess what? Before I die, you guys are going to talk nothing but Cowboys all freaking year. All freaking year long, you're going to talk about my Dallas Cowboys, whether it's win, lose, or draw. Because guess what? You're an American team, Jerry. We get it. But stop the dog and pony show, bro. Just stop it, man. Just stop it, man. But
bad look.
That's it, man. That's my take on what's going down in Big D. we're gonna pause that. We're gonna definitely pause that.
You know what? No, I'll let you live on that one. It's all good. That's that's one of those things that is, that's not even pause worthy. We good there.
No, bro. But yeah, man, that's all I got for you, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate the call, bro. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Have a great show, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yes, sir.
Good call from my main man, Transformer, as usual. And you guys will see the Transformer back tomorrow night on the show. All right, cool. If anyone else has anything to add about the Cowboys, go ahead, give us a call or put it in the chat, and we can go on and move to the final topic. So I'll wait another quick minute, see if anybody else has anything to say, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right, let's do it. Quick note: if you are watching on Facebook and you liked the post with the show information, I appreciate you. Just make sure you go over to YouTube and like the show on the actual channel. That helps us out a lot. Really appreciate it. Look up The Format Podcast on YouTube and just like the show. It's live right now. All right, cool. So final topic here, man. Trevor Lawrence, man. Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Trevor Lawrence has since high school, he's been one of the most highly regarded quarterbacks in the country. He was in high school in Georgia. He and Justin Fields were consistently going back and forth for number one quarterback in the country. He ends up being ranked that way coming out of high school, and he goes to Clemson, where he wins the national championship as a freshman and beats Alabama, I think 44-16, if I'm not mistaken, in the college football playoff championship game. And so everyone is so excited. Oh, if Trevor Lawrence could come out, he'd be the number one pick right now, blah, blah, blah. Plays 2 more years, plays very well. I think goes to another, he was in the playoff all 3 years. I think he went to another national title game and got smoked, I think, by LSU. I believe it was by LSU and Joe Burrow. I think. I would have to check. But the point is, really good college career at Clemson in the ACC. Terrible conference, but, Clemson had all the talent. So be it. Anyway, he comes into the league, number one draft pick, and everyone is excited. Now you got this stuff about he's the best prospect since John Elway and Andrew Luck. And then, of course, now Caleb Williams last year was the best prospect since John Elway and Andrew Luck. Seems like every couple of years we have a so-called generational prospect, which is interesting to me. I didn't think generations moved along that fast, but so be it. Anyway, Trevor Lawrence has, he's had a so-so career, if we're honest. He does have one playoff win, which I'll give him. I actually I covered that game 2 years ago. It was a home playoff game against the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert, and it was a very interesting game because that was a game in which Trevor Lawrence threw 4 first half interceptions, and they were down. They being the Jaguars were down at home. I believe 28-3 or 28-0 at one point, and they ended up coming all the way back to win that game and move on to the divisional round where they lost to the Chiefs the following year. But the point is, Trevor Lawrence does have a playoff win, but here's the thing. If we're honest, for all the hype he's gotten, he's not that good. This is a guy who, for whatever reason, after his 4th year in the league last year, they being Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, decided to go ahead and extend this guy. And for the life of me, I don't get why. So he's got a new 5-year deal, $275 million total. Average salary of $55 million, $37.5 million signing bonus. Very nice. $142 million guaranteed at signing, and total guarantees of $200 million. So they've got him locked up for the next 6 years. Because funny thing is, they gave him this 5-year extension, but he only he still had a year left on his deal. And then if you still weren't sure, you could franchise him. So this is my thing. As you guys know, I'm always banging on the table about guys getting paid in a way not commensurate with their production, right? I'm very big on earning it. And my thing is this. I've really been doing a lot of thinking about the way NFL players get paid. So we know the NFL is an extremely physical game. We know guys get hurt. We know that guys, wherever possible, should be able to earn as much money as they possibly can because the lifespan in that sport is short. I think the average NFL career is just over 3 years in length, right? So if you are fortunate enough to stay around for longer than that, get to that second contract, what you want to do is get as much money as you possibly can. Now, that said, from the other side, why am I giving a guy that much money who hasn't shown me that he's worth that much money and hasn't shown me that he could get me to where the goal for me to be is? That's what I don't get. And so they give Trevor Lawrence this extension. And it's insane because if we're real about it, when a guy gets that type of extension, what we're looking for is for that guy to now play to a level, right? So the NFL has a hard salary cap, and we hear all the time, well, if you pay this guy this much, then it's going to be hard to put players around him. Well, so be it. If it's hard to put players around him and you paid him that much, that means that you believe that he is a guy who can lift the other players that are left. He is a guy who is worth that type of money and earn that type of money. So lift your team up and get it done. This is what I don't understand. So you paid him before you had to, right? You still had the 5th year. And then, like we said, you could have franchised him if you wanted, or you could have made that 5th year a prove it year and made him prove it. At which point, if you decided you didn't want him, you could have moved on, let him walk or trade him or what have you, right? Well, actually, after the 5th year, he could move on. You don't necessarily have to trade him because after that 5th year, if you think he's not the guy, he's unrestricted free agent. But the point is, you paid Trevor Lawrence all this money, and now you're stuck with him, and you've tried to put quality talent around him. The roster in Jacksonville is not terrible. And on top of that, you're going to be in a situation where you are likely going to have to fire Doug Peterson, who is a Super Bowl winning quarterback with the Super Bowl winning head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. And matter of fact, he may be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think he was Brett Favre's backup in Green Bay as well. But the point is, Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. And now you come down here, you're trying to get the Jags in order. And because Trevor Lawrence is not the guy, he's going to cost you your job. And I think that's absolutely freaking terrible. But that's how the game works. Well, it doesn't have to be how it works. It's how a lot of these owners decide they're going to play it because, I don't know, they want to give guys money that they haven't earned. And I just don't get it. So let's listen first to matter of fact, even before I do that, this was something that my boy sent me earlier today that I thought was really interesting. So since 2021, we talk about how Daniel Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. They rip Daniel Jones constantly. And I think he had got $100 million contract extension when he was up for a new deal, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But realistically, was it that crazy? And the reason I asked that is because in this quarterback market, $100 million is like, it sounds like a lot of money, right? But it's really not based on where the quarterback market currently is. And so Daniel Jones, he got his extension. Let me get those exact numbers up for you. And but yeah, everyone, if you listen to NFL media or sports media, you hear how constantly Daniel Jones gets ripped for just being so bad, right? But the interesting numbers are this: since 2021, Daniel Jones has a higher win percentage than Trevor Lawrence. He's won 43% of his games. Trevor Lawrence has won 38. He has a higher completion percentage than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence completes 63.2%. Daniel Jones completes 65.5. Trevor Lawrence is ahead in total yards per game by about 18 yards, 251 to 233. Team points per game, the Jags are 19.8 and the Giants are 18.4, although the Jags have had, better weapons in that same time span, and they both have one playoff win. So realistically, people are railing about Daniel Jones getting paid, and he got paid much less, but you give Trevor Lawrence $250 million, and he's giving you basically the same numbers as Daniel Jones. Does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense to me. So yes, his extension, was 4 years, $160 million, average salary of $40 million a year, $36 million signing bonus with $81 million guaranteed at signing and $92 million in total guarantees. But the Giants, if they want to, can get out from under this deal after this year. So it's not super, super punitive. Now they're gonna have a cap hit next year if they do that of the dead cap hit, of $22 million. next year, and then $11 million the following season. So they can get out from under that. They could, and it wouldn't kill them. But the fact is, the reason I brought up the numbers is because we get so many people in the mainstream sports media get so upset about what Daniel Jones is not doing for the contract that he got, which again is a bargain contract in this quarterback market. But yet no one is really talking about Trevor Lawrence the way they should, right? And so the question is, are we ready to call Trevor Lawrence a bust? And I get this whole thing where I started out about guys getting as much money as they can in the modern NFL, again, because the game is so physical and so dangerous. But what I think this is, because we hear often, right? We hear often all these analysts on TV and the mainstream sports media people banging on the table about these guys getting their money and the organization should pay them and this, that, and the third. But when the organizations pay up and then these players turn around and they stink, these same people are on the show ripping them for being bad. Not the organization, but the players, ripping them for the way they're playing. So which is it? Are you banging on the money for them? Are you banging on the table for them to get paid? And then you're ripping them for bit. Like, how does that work? How does that work? You knew that they didn't deserve that money when you were banging on the table for them to get it. So you can't now turn around and rip them for not playing up to the level of that contract. That's absurd. And that's one thing that I don't do. I don't believe in doing that, and I'm not going to do that. But anyway, let's hear some of the commentary surrounding Trevor Lawrence and his new deal, especially in the wake of him just playing terribly last night while the Jaguars got absolutely shellacked 47-10 by the Buffalo Bills. By the way, Trevor Lawrence, he didn't even finish the game. He was 21 for 38 for 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I mean, he was just bad. A QBR of 19.8, just terrible. So first, I'm going to give you some numbers on Trevor Lawrence and some thoughts that Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington on Fox Sports Radio's Odd Couple shared last night. So check this out. We'll come back and talk about it, and then I got some more thoughts.
Another person who is struggling winning games, we're looking at it right now as this game's just kicked off, is Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've had the conversation. I've told you before, Rob. He is on my all right now. Y'all keep telling me what a beautiful ball he throws, and look how good he is. Top 8, top 10 quarterback, and he's this, he's that. All right now. And I know he won that playoff game that he looked horrendous in for quite some time, but give him credit for pushing, and coming back. I give him credit for that. But for him and for this team, it's 0-2 right now. It's turned into, all right now, I'm going to need you to show me, right? I'm going to need you to put up, because we put the same energy on we put the same energy on Dak Prescott, right? Win the big games, start to show up more. We talk about you all the time, but let me see it. We put the same energy on Josh Allen for a while until he finally started to get better. So, all right now, Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to need you to step up, show me something tonight, and really make sense why you got all that money. Well, everybody keeps telling me, no, just wait. It's like, all right. And I'm not saying he's in the absolute best situation, but it's the same pressure we put on other quarterbacks. Well, hey, make it happen. Hey, show me something. Hey, will your team to a victory? I want to see that from him.
Well, I get it. And
tough task against the Bills.
And he hasn't played well, but this is a moment where he could play well and turn it around. But he is still living off of that playoff. It's not often you're down 28-0 or whatever it was in the first. Remember, he had 4 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah.
And they were getting killed. And to come back and win that game is one for the ages. That's what people saw. And really, after that season, people thought that they were going to take the next step because it was such a remarkable comeback. We hadn't seen too many comebacks like that in football. And unfortunately, they didn't take a turn as far as building on it and going to another level. Instead, there has been a regression. There's no doubt about it, and doesn't look good, but the team had no choice. What choice did they really have? Because you get a quarterback, right? You draft a quarterback. You got to be able to pay the guy. That's just how it is. Whether you really believe in him or not, people are dying for quarterbacks. They drafted him. They're going to invest in him. They have seen some glimmers of hope and some performances to make you feel good, but it's bad right now.
Drop G. Spit some bars real quick about these numbers. What have you done for me lately, Bars?
Oh, he's done a lot of things lately. None of them have been good. All right, through the first 2 games of the season, his completion percentage, 51%, is 30th among all active quarterbacks.
That's like me shooting jumpers in a trash can, about
That's
51%.
Right. On third down, it's even worse, Rob. 21.4% on third down, last in the NFL.
Is he last? Who's Mahomes up right ahead of him? I'm sorry.
He might be.
I give you that.
His QBR barely above average. He's posted a QBR less than 60 in 7 consecutive starts, all of which he's lost. This is the worst part. The longest active losing streak among any starting quarterback in the NFL.
No, I get
Wait,
it.
say that last part again.
The longest active losing streak among any starting quarterback in the NFL, 7 games.
All right, so we heard all that, but it's not good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not good. I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't get it. It's disturbing to hear that they paid him all this and it just for no reason. So check this out. When we started this topic, just after that, I got a notification on my phone, and the title of the article is Buffalo Bills beat Jacksonville Jaguars so bad that their owner is reportedly seeing red. And so let's see where we are. Following the loss, Demetrius Harvey, a Jaguars reporter for the Florida Times-Union, reported that the lopsided loss left the usually reserved Khan seeing red. Someone close to Jaguars owner Shad Khan said to me tonight, says this, angrier than I've ever seen Shad. He's usually a reserved, kind gentleman. Not tonight, Harvey shared on X. So I say this to say that they've done everything that owner Shad Khan believed that they had built the type of team, the type of roster, and put these guys in a position to have success. They've got, again, a championship head coach, and, they've done it all. But what? Nothing is happening. They're 0-3. Now, to make that fair, them being 0-3 is not all on Trevor Lawrence, but realistically, he's not getting it done this year. He is, this year, again, they're 0-3. He's completing 53% of his passes, 560 passing yards in that time. I mean, he's just bad. You're getting nothing from him, and I don't understand it. Other than he's overrated and he's not what they said he was. Now, I get it. They were all excited about what they saw in college, but there's little things you have to take into account, right? Now, everyone may not follow recruiting, etc., but when he was in college, the Atlantic Coast Conference had 16 5-star recruits in it. I've talked about this before. 16 5-star recruits for an entire conference. That's low, right? Clemson had 11 of them. So Clemson had all the talent. Now, granted, when they went up against the better teams and they played them, right? When they went up against the better teams and they played them, they had to beat them. For instance, like we said, they mollywopped Alabama in the national championship game. They beat Ohio State in a national semifinal. They beat Notre Dame in a national semifinal. So they've beaten some good teams. But now this guy's in the league. So all that excitement, all that he's the best prospect since this and that. Where is all that best prospect since this and that? Where's it taking you? Nowhere. Nino, I'm not being too hard on the man. I'm telling what it is. What have you seen from this dude to make you believe, one, that you should have made him, at least for a moment, the highest paid player in the NFL, and two, that he can take you where you want to go? You've put all the talent around him. You've gotten him a competent head coach. Like, what's the problem here? It's just bad. All right. Next, we'll go to John Middlecoff, host of the 3 and Out podcast. And this is a guy who was a former NFL scout with the Philadelphia Eagles during Andy Reid's time. And so he had some thoughts on Trevor Lawrence as well on his show this morning. Let's check it out.
Do you know what Trevor Lawrence is? He's a high character Deshaun Watson. As just someone that likes watching football on my couch, that would be doing it whether I did this for a living or not, they are terrible watches. They are terrible for the consumer. You just sit there and watch and you go, this is awful. How am I watching this? What is going on? And I think we can officially say Trevor Lawrence is one of the most overhyped players in the history of the league. The hype that followed him coming into the NFL was insane. And through 3 years and 3 games, it has been beyond underwhelming. But the craziest thing is, and this is what bad organizations do in the NBA, the NBA gives out max contracts like, a home in a cul-de-sac gives out candy on Halloween night. Some guys are worth it. Jokic, Luka, Curry, LeBron. And then there are a ton of guys that you go, we just won 30 games and didn't sniff the playoffs. It's like, yeah, you gave that guy $240 million. I could have told you that was a terrible contract. The Jags, giving him $200 million after last season when he was going into year 4. It's not like, well, he's going to be a free agent. You got a franchise. He wasn't even close to his 5th-year option. He still had another year to get there. Is one of the most insane things I've ever seen when it comes to the economics of the NFL when you're talking that type of money. I thought both quarterback contracts this summer were pretty embarrassing for the franchises. But there's a reason the Dolphins don't really win anything ever. And there's definitely a reason the Jags, since Shad Khan has owned the team, constantly suck. Because giving this guy that much money, who, yeah, he's got some talent, but there was a moment in the second half, he had a couple drives, and Orlovsky was like, he's really just kind of letting it rip and play. Well, yeah, he's down 34-3. Nothing matters. He could just play free. But in the heat of the moment, when they got down really quick, like 13-0, you felt a little pressure, and the balls were just flying all over the map. The interception he throws to Damar Hamlin, which dude dies on a field, 2 years later is picking off a $200 million quarterback starting for a Super Bowl contender. Incredible story. Was an atrocious throw. The dude is wide open, running down the middle of the field, cutting across the field, drive the ball into him. Instead, he tries to layer a throw, and the ball airmails the wide receiver, tips and overthrows, hits Hamlin in the breadbasket. Easiest interception he's probably ever had, dating back to Pee Wee football. And listen, seems like a nice guy, never gets in trouble, but this is him and Deshaun Watson made a combined $430 million, and you can't win with either of them.
So, I mean, he laid it all out right there, right? So, again, we keep getting back into this. It's not sexy, or people don't like to say that guys shouldn't get paid, and I understand it. But we also have a responsibility to be honest, or we should have responsibility to be honest and say, hey, maybe such and such should get paid, but they shouldn't get paid top of market. Maybe such and such should get paid, but we should wait until we see more from them before we do it. Like giving guys max contracts who aren't there yet or aren't ready or don't deserve it, it's just bad, right? Because you hear this whole thing of, well, why is that owner waiting? The price is only going to go up. Well, guess what? If the price goes up and I'm willing to pay that, that means that I'm sure that I believe in this player. So I'm willing to pay that. Also, we hear this whole business from the owners of, well, if I pay this guy, then I can't pay others because, hard salary cap. Well, that's cool because like I mentioned before, if you have that type of player that you believe that is worthy of that max deal, then you also believe that they can lift your team and lift other players. And that's all there is to that, man. We got to stop the nonsense, all right? We got to stop the nonsense. Certain guys are worth max deals. Certain guys are not. It's that simple. It's not that. It's that simple. And there's nothing wrong with saying it. There's nothing wrong with saying it. But I guess it's just some unspoken thing. Now, the only thing I'll agree with is if you're a former player in the sports media and you're saying, then you kind of keep your mouth shut on that because it's it's our brotherhood of players. So you're saying, all right, cool. I want to see all these players get their money. But if you don't have that connection to them, just be honest about it. Bruce Hope is up for a new deal. Well, I wouldn't max him out. He doesn't deserve that, right? What has he shown you to show you that he should be maxed out? It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So, I guess those are my final thoughts on this whole Trevor Lawrence thing. He is severely overpaid. He has shown you nothing to make you believe that he deserves to be the highest paid player at any point ever. And so what I'll say is this, and y'all know this: if he turns it around and starts to play at a high level and takes the Jaguars somewhere, gets some good playoff wins under his belt and really strings together a run, I'll come back and say, hey, I was wrong. I got no problem with that. But it's been, 4 years already, and I haven't seen it yet. This is year 5, so we'll find out. Now, if we want to give him a pass for year 1 with Urban Meyer, all right, cool, I got you. But besides that, haven't really seen it yet, other than that really one flash in the pan in the playoffs against a terrible Chargers team coached by a terrible coach in Brandon Staley. So yeah, that's all I got. If at this point anybody wants to call in, I'll put the number in the chat, 904-219-8264. If anybody wants to call in, give your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence. I would love to hear someone argue with me or disagree with me or tell me why he's better than I think or why he deserves that contract he's got. So let me know. Yeah, man, this guy, yeah, he's bad. He's bad. A lot of bad contracts out there in the league, man. Guys get paid. This is why I keep saying it, man. That whole they're up next, they got to get more. We got to stop that. How about they did more so they get more? Seems pretty simple to me. All right, looks like I'm not going to be getting any calls on this topic, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end it now. Appreciate everybody who stopped by. Appreciate everybody who called. Appreciate everybody who left comments in the chat. Appreciate everybody who watched. Appreciate all the likes that you guys gave me. Make sure you share this out. Share the channel. If you haven't already and you're here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe on the way out. Definitely appreciate you. All that stuff helps a lot more than you think. So yeah, let's keep the channel growing. Make sure you share it. Appreciate you. And we should see you tomorrow night. Me, Transformer, hopefully G. We should all be in here. Appreciate you, Nino. Trying to make it happen, man. Trying to make it happen. So yeah, that's it for today. And I'm out. Peace.